I want to share with you what I recently picked up. These are the Schminke Naturals. These are the vegan watercolors. And I got both packs. And then I picked this up on Amazon, this cute little tin. Let me open this up.
Alright you guys, so this video is broken up into 3 parts. The first part is a paint pour, part 2 is a swatch, and part 3 is going to be me painting with these using different media. And the outro is going to be my final observation and final thoughts on these.
Isn't she beautiful? I'm going to go ahead and fill these in, and we're going to test these out. We're going to swatch them and do some different things with them and see how they perform.
Stay to the end to get my full review on these.
And we'll see whether we like them or not.
I want to preface this by saying that on this video, these are going to be my opinions and my opinions alone. And I will say that I love Schminke. That's one of my favorite brands of watercolor, amongst some other ones, this one being one of my top. And I just want to come on here and give you my point of view on these particular paints. So I'm going to use them in different ways to see how they perform under different situations with different media.
There are a couple of YouTubers that have already put out videos on these, and I'm looking at the comments. A lot of people don't like what they see, so I wanted to test them out myself and see if I agree or disagree. These could be a hit or a complete miss, so we will see. Right off the bat, the consistency does seem a little different than regular watercolor. I like the colors. I think they're pretty. I like bright colors to muted colors, a little bit of everything, just depending on my mood or the style that I'm going for. This and that looks completely different. And this looks more bright and orange-like, and this one looks more yellow. This one and this one look so pretty in the way it's swatched right here. Alright, so I have room for 2 more watercolors. I might put in like a white and a gold just for some accents. We'll see. But I'm gonna let them dry. I'm gonna put in some white watercolor from M. Graham and a gold, the designer's gouache from Winsor & Newton. So there we go. Let's let them dry. So this is what the palette looks like the next day. There are a few of them have a little bit of cracks in there, and for the most part, all of them are sticky.
I decided to do a color mixing chart since I think it is a very helpful way to see the range of colors that you can create with the palette that you have set up. This has become my new obsession, and I really want to go in and do this with all of my watercolor palettes. So what we have going on is going to be the vertical columns are going to be your deeper mass tones, and then the horizontal row are going to be your midtones. And lastly, the diagonal are going to be the light washes. This is helpful so that you can see the value range of your watercolors. So if you guys remember watching my video on my sketchbook collection, this is an additional sketchbook that I have, and actually I found it in my classroom. I had purchased this, I believe, during the pandemic, and this is the Strathmore watercolor paper sketchbook. The series 400 is 140-pound paper and 300 GSM. It is cold press heavyweight, and I believe this is not 100% cotton because it doesn't state that it is, but it says that this is intermediate grade watercolor paper that has a strong surface that is ideal for watercolor, gouache, and acrylic. It's definitely not the best watercolor paper. I did do some practice paintings in here for my painting class that I teach at the high school, but I decided to make this my swatching sketchbook. Website from Jackson's claims made from exclusively natural derived pigments and the finest quality gum arabic. This range of vegan friendly colors is a unique fusion of watercolor and gouache. So this is what it looks like all done. It looks like a mess. It's not very pigmented and it's not very fluid like watercolor. It does not feel like watercolor. Here's my mixing palette. I had to refill this again, so you need a lot of product, a lot of paint in order to paint whatever you want. I'm gonna try a couple techniques before I paint something with them and just play with it. It doesn't flow very well. This is the most pigmented color, the Madder Lake, and the indigo color. Just stays put. It really feels like you're painting with natural pigments. So I agree with a lot of people on the internet saying that it has a weird texture. That is 100% true. The best way I can describe it is as if you had residue of some type of fruit that's sitting in a bowl and the juices have drained at the end of the bowl, like those little particles. That's what it looks like. I feel very discouraged, but not going to give up just yet on these. If you like this review video, let me know if you want me to do more in the future. Alright, so now we're going to paint with the watercolors. I'm going to start off with just using these on their own and then doing different ways of using it, so different media. I have my other practice watercolor sketchbook down below so that if I want to test out techniques or whatever, I can just do it right here and then paint. So we'll go ahead and get started. Let's see, these are dry. Let's see how they re-wet. Oh, look at this color is very weak. So is this color. They do seem to be better when they're completely dry. When I did swatching, they were semi-dry, and that was like 24 hours later. This is now maybe 3 days, 4 days for them to dry. They seem to be working better now that they're completely dry. They do move a little bit better and mimic watercolor better, but not 100% so far. But let's go ahead and test them out. I do like this indigo color. I will say the indigo color is really pretty, and the Madder Lake, I do like those two colors. Those are my favorite. And then this color too. This is this curcuma. I think it's how you say it. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put all water here and see how they move. There's not a lot of movement. How it flows. You know how watercolor is known for being very fluid. It just stays in place, and it does have a weird texture. Alright guys, so after watching this video, at the end I want you to formulate your own opinion. Do you feel like you want to purchase these? Are you still interested in them? I'm just curious to see how they look when you start to use other media with it. I want to build it up too to see if it's like gouache. So first impression, painting with it, it doesn't feel like watercolor or gouache. It's something in its own entity, which is kind of weird. I've worked with oils, acrylics, watercolor, gouache, inks even, and it feels like none of the above. Okay, so I'm gonna let that kind of dry. I'm gonna start doing a little bit of background. I need to be careful not to get these edges wet. I'm really liking these paintbrushes I got. I hauled them this month, the Princeton Aqua Elite. They are great. So nice. I do like the colors more in one set than the other. Let me show you. So this set, I really don't care for the colors so much. And this set, do like the colors they come in. But wait until the end to hear my final thoughts on these paints.
That first set is those colors. The payoff is minimal. Like this pigment here is Caucasus earth. I'm sorry for the mispronunciation, but yeah, that one. And like I said, these don't flow very nicely. I mean, if you are a vegan and this is something that you're looking for, this might be great for you. What, Dinah? Okay, hold on.
To take a Dinah break, otherwise she will not let me work.
The yellow ochre's pretty good. That is pigmented. What, Dinah? What, baby? I'm filming. Don't you know I'm doing a video? Don't you know? Alright, so now in this section I'm going to be using, of course, these and these Schminke, but this is the botanical set, I believe it's called. And I just hauled these, so I'm going to combine the two watercolors together and see how they perform. I wonder if you know what, I think I'm gonna do the same thing on each section. So let me draw that out first. So it's not exactly like this one, but it's close enough, so we'll go ahead and use that. All right, I'm gonna go in first with the Schminke, like the way that these flow, like normal watercolors, as expected. So I'm gonna pop in some of that, and then I'll go in with the naturals. I've got like, I don't know how to describe it, but the flow is, they don't behave like traditional watercolor. Let me go in with the green here. And a little bit of this green. Okay, I'm gonna mix here. They have like a film to it. The naturals, it's like a weird film. Regular watercolor in here, so let me mix that with this. I mean, it might be nice to supplement and add a few colors from the naturals to your watercolor. This is Prussian blue. Pop some of that in there with a little bit of this indigo color. See, look at the particles. Just like bizarre. I did see one video where this lady did a really good job painting with them, but not me. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry a little bit and do the background. Okay, so I'm getting impatient. I'm gonna go ahead and start painting the background. Let's see, what should we do? Maybe some reds. Let me use this magenta color and this violet, and I'm gonna mix a little bit of red matter with the Schminke. They do feel a little sticky. Okay, so that does work better when you mix it with regular watercolor. Seems like that red matter did dominate the mixture with the Schminke, this palette. Oh, and now the violets in there. It does work better when you mix it with regular watercolor. I'm gonna mix this green with some of this green here. So these are the first layers. I'm gonna go back once they're dry and do some wet on dry. So that's it for now for these two. Let's go explore some other ways of trying out these pigments. I'm gonna use some Inktense. These are such a joy to work with. I enjoy these so much. I'm gonna keep the designs pretty simple.
That way I have time to use these pigments in different ways. And here comes the magic with activating these Inktense with water.
Okay, let's let that dry. And then I'm gonna work on this because I want to use these pigments with gouache. Let's see if I can get this color to
show up.
It's a pretty color, but it's very weak. Whereas this green, Dyer's green is nice. And violet, light color. It's like a muted violet, which is pretty.
So full disclosure, I really tried to do gradients and blends with these, but I struggled with it. So I wasn't able to do that in my large swatching sketchbook, the first one, and the little sketchbook, which is 100% cotton watercolor paper.
Definitely not as opaque as gouache. I mean, I could go in and try to build it up. I did this. But you can see that it has this odd texture of cheap paint.
Very streaky, and the brush strokes are apparent.
These paints do take a while to dry.
Oh, these are not cheap paints. I did buy them on promotion from Jackson. I have seemed to misplace my receipt, but I do recall spending with tax and everything around $130 some dollars and change. And I only mention that just if you were curious and you wanted to buy these.
Alright, so I'm gonna put the background in. Alright, so my thoughts as I'm working on this is I am disappointed. I feel like I've wasted my money, and come with my final thoughts at the end once I've done everything I could possibly do. But I will say that the colors are pretty, but once you start using them, it's just not like what I'm used to. So I'm gonna put some watercolor here. Let's see, let's do some yellow light colors. These inktense might save the day on this design.
As I work with mixed media, I find out that the other media, the secondary media, really helps to pull through and make these natural watercolors look decent.
Have any of you bought these colors yet? Let me put some of this indigo in here over the inktense to just bump up the color. It's a little gloppy. I'm trying to put it on thickly to see if I can get it to look like gouache, but it's just not doing what I need it to do.
At this point, I'm quite frustrated, so I'm trying all I can to make this work.
I'm actually going to mix this indigo color with this gouache and paint with it and see how they work together. This is actually dry gouache right here that I'm just reactivating with the water, because my thought is I might put those paints, those natural paints, and mix them with gouache, let them dry, and use it as a dry gouache palette.
But I don't know about that. I don't want to ruin my professional gouache with these paints.
Gouache / watercolor palette.
What I'm doing here is painting the inside cover of my sketchbook, the opening page.
I have noticed with these new pigments, you have to use a lot of product to get good color payoff, which is not ideal.
In order to do the painting for this filming, I had to fill up that little palette twice.
Okay, so now I'm gonna put some wet gouache with this. Just experimentation, seeing what we can do. I've spent the money, so now I have to figure out how I'm going to use these colors. Okay, it looks like that gouache dominates. You don't see much of that indigo because this is ultramarine.
First page on the left, I use dry gouache with the naturals. Second page on the right, I use wet gouache with the naturals.
I don't remember what color I had here that was dry, that blue. I think it was one of my Schmincke gouache colors, if I remember correctly. This is my opening page to my sketchbook because I wanted to decorate it anyway, so I figured, hey, why not do some experimentation while I fill it in. I think I'm about 60 to 70% done with this sketchbook. I think I like that color, but let me see. All right, so this is cerulean blue. I have the Madder Lake, the indigo, and this is some type of, I believe this is, I don't know, carmine from Schmincke. And I'm just going to mix these. It's a pretty color.
Did like the base color, but I wanted to build up the opacity.
Do like this color. Just transition this. All right, so I'm gonna let this dry and then I'm gonna paint a design over the top. So this is pretty much dry, kind of damp, but dry enough. I put down these two colors, the yellow ochre and this other color that's labeled orange, but it comes out yellow. It's the lighter yellow. This one's the yellow ochre, and then this is that color right there. I'm going to mix those together, and then I'm going to drop in some gouache. So it seems like you need a lot of the product to get it to do what you want, and the color payoff is nowhere near what gouache is. So like if I were to put this much gouache, it's not equal, it's not the same. So I'm gonna mix in, this is Winsor & Newton, it's their, I think they used to call it flesh tone, but now I think it's called rose tint or something like that. And I'm just putting a little bit of that Winsor & Newton gouache, and it's overpowering the mixture.
You guys, I deserve an award for trying to make these work. I have not given up on them yet. Well, maybe I have, but after this cover design, I do one more thing, which is coming up in just a moment.
I am doing some more experimentation. I am using my Neocolor 2s on this side, and I chose colors that are more muted and subdued, and that's going to be my ground, my base. And on this side, I'm going to use my Japanese colors. I think these are called the Boku watercolors, and they're in the shadow range. They look like this. So I'm going to set a ground with that, and I will report back on how they will look layered. So here is what it looks like. This is Neocolor 2s as the base, and then the naturals on top. Those Neocolors really pull through and look great. Not the watercolors though. And this is the Japanese watercolor as our base, and then the naturals on top. Not a fan of the watercolors. So this is what this looks like. I am at some point, at another time, I'm going to put my name on here and the start date, and then when I finish I'll put the ending date. But let's take a look at what I was working on yesterday. So to recap, this is just the naturals on their own. This is that set, natural set with my regular watercolor, the Schmincke watercolor. This is inktense with the naturals, and the naturals with my gouache, this gouache here. I like the natural color palette that it comes with. That's what pulled me into it. My curiosity got the best of me, but my final thoughts is, honestly, they are not worth the money. There are a few pigments that I do like this one. These colors I do like. These are all from the same set. Yeah, from this set here. This color's pretty decent too. I'd say these are more pigmented than this set here, although the yellow ochre is the strongest, I'd say, out of all of them. The violet's pretty strong too, but these are better. You have to use a lot of product to get what you want, some color payoff, And I mean, if you are on the hunt for vegan watercolors, this might be up your alley.
I wanted to mention there probably are better vegan watercolors out there, but I don't know what they are. And if you do know, please share them down below.
There might just be one pigment that you like, but I am going to use them because I did purchase them. Obviously, I don't want to get my money's worth, or try to. And Schminke had a great idea, but they should have did more testing, more experimentation with it before putting it out. Again, I don't feel that they're worth the price. They are mediocre at best, and like I said, they're not worth the money that you pay for them. So I did my swatches with them, which they look terrible. This is my experimentation page. This is me experimenting by actually painting something with them. And this is another experiment with mixing them with gouache, which the color is more vibrant. It's best that way. It's more like gouache. But if you try to build up this paint, it doesn't give you the gouache effect. I mean, maybe I need to spend more time, but based on what I've done, no, I don't think so. It takes a lot of effort to make it work and look good, but that could just be, you know, I'm not experienced with this type of paint, but you know, it is marketed as watercolor and gouache, which I do know how to use. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. I know I did see a few videos out there on the internet saying a lot of people didn't like the texture of it, and I do agree with them. What do you think? Are you interested in these colors, a few colors, or this is a complete pass for you? So hopefully this was helpful and gave you some good information on whether you want to proceed, or you know what, I'm gonna pass on this. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful and creative day, and I'll see you guys next time. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Take care. Bye-bye.
Alright, so I wanted to pop on here one more time and give you bonus footage, and also to say that I try to be as thorough as possible on this review. If I've missed anything, you have any questions, please leave them down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like it. It really does help me out. And let me know if you want more review videos. I'll see you next time.